Well, look, I'm delighted to say that we're going to dip our toe, if you like, into the world of volleyball. And our guest this week is Alex Menya, head coach of the Army volleyball team. And he's still basking in the glory of their recent victory at the Crown Services. What is the Crown Services tournament?
Crown Services, in a word, prestigious. It is the crown, literally, of our services volleyball. We have the civil service, police, the Navy, the Air Force, of course, those are the armed services. We have the fire service, we have the police. We all come together and we pit our wits on the volleyball court to see who is better, who is more relevant in a way. There's a little silent rivalry there. So that's what it is. It's very competitive.
They say the cream rises to the top, and that's probably something that you would allude to as well, because the Army won.
Absolutely. Well, cream rising to the top. Honestly, the level of Crown Services volleyball is so high that I think every team was cream in a way, and I think everybody rose to the occasion. And in all honesty, anybody could have won it. I think it came down to a few technicalities on who is prepared better and a bit of luck as well. But I will not take it away from my boys. I think we prepared the best. We were probably more talented, and we showed that. Because you could be talented, you can prepare well. If you don't execute that, then it means nothing. So I think as a whole package, we had the best preparation, we have the best talent, and I think we executed what we practiced the best. They did, but we did the best.
And a chance to get one over the other two military services as well, the RAF and the Navy.
You'd be surprised. They're probably not even our biggest rivals at the Crowns. The police have won it more times than anybody remembers. They're so experienced. They play in all Scotland leagues and very good players, ex-internationals. So they pride themselves on winning this tournament. So when we go to the Crowns, we look beyond the other, rival armed services because we have the inters to catch them. Those are where we brag at that level. I think at the Crowns, we step into a different zone. We ignore whoever else we shall find again, and we catch the guys that we only catch once a year. So the police, I think that was the sweetest victory. And then we have the prisons and the fire. Everybody feels important, and they have very good players, civilian players who play. Some semi-professionals, some actually have ex-European players, Italians and Polish, who are in those services. And they play at high level almost every week. So for us to come in, we play on average once every 3-4 months together. You're lucky if you have the same people, twice in 6 months. So for us to comprehensively beat them and to go ahead and win the whole tournament, it's just music. Okay, so the Air Force and the Navy, yeah, but we deal with those. We know if we don't catch them with the Crowns, we'll catch them with the Inters.
Is it the highest level? So you talk about it being, you mentioned the cream rising to the top, you mentioned it being the crown of, sort of services volleyball. Is that the highest level that you play at, or is there a sort of UK Armed Forces team that take on civilian sides? I'm trying to get an idea of what's the highest representation you can play at for volleyball.
That's a good question. You mentioned UCAF, and I'll come to UCAF in a second. But in my opinion, with my experience as head coach, the boys, for the first time ever, we entered the National Volleyball League, the England National Volleyball League, last season, that just finished in July. And we were in the Cup and the Shield, and we were eliminated, unfortunately, and that's a topic for another day, in the quarterfinals. I believe my boys deserve to be in the semi-finals at least, even in the final. I think they're a good shot at the final, but we didn't. So for me, that is the highest level. And every single civilian team we played, these are top-level England League teams, they acknowledge that you're the best team that we've played. And this is not prompted, this is them acknowledging and shaking our hand to say, wow, you have a good team here. So for me, that was the highest level, because any of those teams will come and win the Crowns blindfolded. Okay, that gave us confidence to walk in and say, you know what, maybe the Crowns is an easy level. Maybe the Inters is an easy level if we have everybody available. Now, coming to UCAF, in the services, UCAF obviously is the pinnacle. It is the highest level of volleyball that anybody should aspire to. So yes, I would say my entire team is part of UCAF, and that's something that we are trying to review and make UCAF more relevant in a volleyball sense. We're trying to change the mindset to make sure that we have the best representing the highest services volleyball available within uniform. But yeah, in the services, UCAF, highest level we play in the volleyball league.
Brilliant.
In the past, we've had previous guests on the programme who've been head coaches of their various teams, and behind that head coach, there's always a passion for their sport. So where does your love for volleyball come from?
Goodness me. Apart from the fact that I'm vertically challenged, which forces me into coaching. But before I knew I would stop growing, as we all find out at some point, I was about 9 years old. I just picked it up and I thought, I have the eye-hand coordination to play this sport. And if I'm tall enough, I know I'll be all right. So I was in school, primary school in Uganda, beautiful, beautiful country. And we don't play indoors, none of this. This is magic, this is gold to me. Just kind of get used to this. We play outdoors where we have the wind and the dust and all sorts of things. So you learn, and gravel or tarmac. So you learn to adjust and understand the game and read things, not, it's a still ball coming to me because it's in a hole and things, lighting is perfect. So you adapt, you start thinking about the game. So my passion came that way. How can I become better? How can I understand this game to play it better as I grow? So I started playing. I don't want to tell you when. I was 9 years old. My gray hair should give it away a little bit. But yes, I did play, and obviously I went on to play with the national team, not for the national team, because I was a small guy. But I think the coaches wanted me to be around the training, and I fed them a lot of information. And unknowingly, I was just reading the game, understanding. I would say, Coach, have you thought about this? I can play defense for you, but I think you're missing a trick with this guy or that guy or something. And I think a few of them did tell me, just join the coaching group, just join it. So over the years, you're talking 30 years plus, I've just been a scholar of the sport. I like to understand the intricacies of it. Okay, I'm not impressed by hard hitting. I'm not impressed by the power and the excitable stuff. I'm impressed by what can I do to win the next point easier. You see, so that's the passion I've built around the game, knowing I cannot be competitively a player because of my height, but I have the knowledge of the game, and walking away because I cannot play would have been a waste. So it's allowed me to really stay with the game, and being in the Army, these opportunities available, readily available, and across all the sports. But volleyball was one that I thought I could add that value on court, off court, and build the planning, organizing on the committee, and that's why we are.
Well, it's a wonderful game, and I can't help but notice, because we've got some of the lads here in the background training some of the current Army team, but the majority of them are Commonwealth soldiers. So why is it that in the UK we don't play volleyball to that high level, but across the Commonwealth it's a sport that people go to in their droves?
That's a good point. Actually,
is it the weather? Is it the climate? Are we doing something
Playing
wrong?
outside, maybe?
It's the passion. It's the passion. But when we won the crowns, one of the comments that touched me, because I was a bit of an emotional wreck, and I couldn't help myself. But really, because just so you know, the Army have never won it. Okay, since records start.
Oh, really?
We should clarify. This is the men, isn't it?
The men. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. The men. The
Just in
Army
case
men.
somebody writes in and says.
Army men. Yeah. We have never even come close. I think we came close once in the final, and we were beaten by the police, rightly so. But one of the comments that came to me, somebody said, "I like the way you've changed the picture of Crown Services volleyball. There's an inclusivity element to it. It's very diverse now." And I said, no. What I feel, the 6 I put on court are the best players I have for the circumstance to win the game. If it looks diverse, thank you, but I don't intend it to be. Our history had elements of that, and we couldn't feel the best team because it wasn't representative, whatever that meant. And I didn't buy into that narrative. I feel the best players possible. So, to your question, how come we have a lot of Commonwealth soldiers in the team? One, they are the best of the crop, and that comes from the fact that in Fiji, who are the majority of the guys, in the Caribbean, in Africa, the passion for the sport is big. As I alluded to, when I was learning the game, you don't learn just the technicalities of it. You learn what does it mean to do this. What's the so what? Okay, can I do this now? at expense, but 2-3 points later, I would have nullified that threat, okay? And these guys give me that. I did tell you today, I'll put them on autopilot, instruction, that's the drill, make it happen. There's objective, find how to do it. And I've put all of them on level 1 coaching courses, all of them, mandated, okay? So they understand the game better, and they do that. Now, in England, the game, and I paraphrase, it's high level. It isn't. And I think that's why internationally we struggle, because there's a bottleneck in England. We're only as good as what we know, okay? Every time we step out of the comfort zone of England, we're exposed. When we hosted the Olympics, it was tough watching our games. And you could see, I think England will just need to learn. Just wipe the slate and learn. The game is different. The game is not about explosive hitting and I'm the best in my region, or I play for under 17 cadets. That doesn't matter. You played for cadets, but were you good enough? You know, are you promising enough for me to think, okay, you can be an international, you can be an Olympian? No. I think we limit ourselves to, oh, I play for my county, so I'm good. I've had boys ring me. My father played volleyball. These are English boys, and I play with him, and I play for Norwich. And so I look at the team, I'm like, whoa, okay, come have a go. And I don't speak to them until the end. I say, how do you feel? Do you think you are that level? I say, no. But you played for the cadets. Yeah, but I'll need to go and prepare more. And that's the evidence in the pudding. These guys have played club volleyball outdoors on rough surfaces. Playing indoors is a privilege. You bring them in here where the ball is steel, the floor is, it's kind of firm. Good trainers, they'll be impressive.
It's something I've heard before about, not necessarily English sport exactly, but sort of possibly countries that are well funded, like the money is there. I'm not saying that volleyball is one of the best funded or something like that, but are you saying that possibly because of that funding, they're too concerned with ticking boxes and the technical side of things, whereas you think, you've already said that they should have a different approach. Do you think there is a danger of that, whereas the majority of Commonwealth soldiers in this instance have come from possibly countries that aren't that well funded, and so they're playing for the love of the game? I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth. Is that kind of what you're saying?
You are, and I'm glad you are, but I'm going to be more brutal than you. I think it's lazy. You're right. If when I take my son to his cricket practice, okay, I'll drive him there. I'll buy him the kit, the pads new. Oh, your gloves are a bit ripped. Yeah, you know what? Have some new ones. And I realized I was becoming lazy, and that is the laziness where the economy is strong, because your kid becomes a star because he's the captain of a tennis club, okay? Not because he's a good player, but he's the best player there and he's the captain. Whereas we, the foreign guys, Commonwealth in this instance, you go to a volleyball court because you have the passion to play that sport. Nobody's going to pay you, okay? If your cricket gloves are ripped, I'm sorry, until they're falling off your hands, you'll use them. You'll use, in fact, you just bend them, you play without gloves. If it catches your thumb, and you learn to avoid, top edges. I'm talking about cricket here. Even with volleyball, you got to play on tarmac, okay? Not kneecaps, no shoes can save you. You just play, and if your shoes rip, guess what? You play barefoot. And it's that, and you learn to do something because you love to do something, not because you can afford to do something, not because your parents want you to have some co-curricular activities, because you're at an independent school and you have to be in a team. So we participate, but we compete, and we do it because we want to do it. Okay. So we don't have that problem of, I got into volleyball because there was a beautiful court next to me and my father had membership at this club. We don't have that privilege, I call it. So when you get these guys playing a sport, look at rugby, whatever sport it is, we have a passion and we understand it and we have the talent, because that is nurtured from you adjusting, trying to be good at that sport. You don't have it in the well-funded countries. There's participation, no winners, no losers until you're old enough. But those are your norming phases, okay? By the time you reach 18, when you can be dropped because you're not good enough, then you think, oh my God, and then you have little mental issues, psychological issues. Am I good enough? Can I just give up? You know what? I'll just go to the city and do a job and I put my tie on. And you lose some talented players that way, which is a problem. Okay. And I'll tell you now, my army team, full strength, will probably give England's team, men, a good game.
Well, is that not something that, you could be looking for in terms of opposition,
They will probably laugh if I suggested it, but the reality will be it will give them a good game. And I go back to what I just told you, when we played in the Cup, first time in the Cup, even our own bosses who are English, they're like, nah. I said, no, just give us a chance. And yeah, until the quarterfinals, and the games we lost 2 points out, and you could see even they said, you know what, yeah, you won it. Ref wasn't right on that, but hey, we move on. And we did, and they're like, oh, so you guys can do it. At the Crowns, we walked in like, until we won it, they're like, you're good. So the passion takes us places.
Well, at London 2012 and in London in 2014 were big years for veterans, servicemen, in connection with volleyball. I'm thinking of the Paralympic Games, and then of course the Invictus Games, and that's something that you have played a role in, isn't it? Bringing sitting volleyball to the masses.
Absolutely. My son was Googling some stuff on the internet. I think Googling his dad, and he found an article about the dad launching the Invictus Games. Okay, on BBC, on the red sofa, whatever they call it. We did the rounds on Sky and everything else. So we launched it, within the sitting volleyball space, and we had demonstration games. So big year. Paralympics. I was very active with the back-to-back sitting volleyball team, which is now, I think, Help for Heroes. I think they've renamed it. Help for Heroes. Help for Heroes is called now. Or back-to-back. We always call ourselves back-to-back.
They sort of work alongside with the battle-backs in with the Help for Heroes program, I think.
It's gone legs and arms. I don't track that side of it. But yeah, we started that. I said we had a few other ex-Army players that, I was working at Headley Court at the time. So I just thought, let's make use of the whole story. Is one of our Army players, Corey Mapp. I don't know, you might know him. Corey Meister.
Another multi-sported serviceman, yeah.
Yeah, Black Ice. Have you read this book? Please. Am I supposed to announce any branding? Black Ice?
No,
Please
that's
read
fine.
It.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's your interview, so you say what you like.
Yeah, there's a little chapter on
Charlie Walker as well was 2012, wasn't
Charlie, 2012. But Charlie is I can talk about it. He's ex-Army, but he left for other reasons. So I think he came in with the rugby and the volleyball and things changed. But he's definitely one of us. Yeah. But Corey Mapp, we had an Army camp in Plymouth, as you do. And 6 months later, I'm in Headley Court as chief clerk, and I see a familiar face in a wheelchair. I call him Corey Meister. I say, Corey, what on earth? He's like, yeah, I deployed after, Plymouth, and in fact, those grounds in Plymouth. And things happen. I'm like, nah, we gotta sit down. We'll have lunch together. So we sat on his story, and he was a fantastic player, fantastic volleyball player. One, I thought by now he would be, really playing. And right away, I just knew. I asked him, what are your issues? Okay, it was mental, it was physical. I need to learn to walk again, Alex. I need to learn to ride a bike. I said, listen, we'll do something. So I took him playing sitting volleyball, and a few people joined in, and I put him on wheelchair, not sitting tennis. I did everything. It was for Corey, but obviously, with the team sports, you couldn't just have Corey. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and not just sitting volleyball, not just wheelchair basketball. We just did a lot of sports, and we invited lots of we had the Estonians in there, we had some Afghans in there, we had Australians in there, some Americans. We just got big. So Corey was with the sitting volleyball team at the Paralympics at 2012, and I was helping with defensive coaching with sitting volleyball, and that was, for me, probably the sweetest thing I've ever done for anyone. Okay. I had two. Rana, Rana? Rana, he was the other product we had down there. So I had two of my boys in the national team. And this Natural, because he's Nepalese, he plays volleyball, brought him in.
I think it shows how versatile the sport is. You can never write yourself out of it, because whether you're playing sitting volleyball or, as these guys are doing, just standard volleyball, It's a sport for everybody.
Sport for everybody. You can sit down and play. You could play this in a wheelchair. Okay, we just lower the nets and adapt it to what you do. And if it's sitting volleyball, I don't know if you ever get a chance to. I don't know if you've seen them with at the Invictus Games.
Yeah.
It is such a good thing for your core. You know, your core has to be firm enough, strong enough for you to shuffle around for that long with a target to reach and play sensibly with somebody. So it really aided their recovery at Headley Court. Initially, they didn't realize what it was doing, but I knew it is part of their recovery. You know, adaptive sport. You know, Martin Korkhoff, came up with coined that phrase, adaptive sport and recovery. I think I had that in my head already when I was, working with these boys. I said, if you take your mind off the pain and your worries, you'll work other parts of your body, and you'll be fitter, and you recover quicker. And a few of them have thanked me thereafter because things became easier. They went into powerlifting, they went into all sorts of, some faces I recognize, not names, and they've gone on to do big things, within the Paralympic world. And Invictus, and recovery, through sport, there's no better thing than that. Doing something you like to recover from a traumatic experience. You can't get rewarded more than that.
So it's interesting because looking at an Invictus sitting volleyball team now, and they have been pretty successful throughout the five championships we've had. But what I love is that, so you've got your able-bodied team like your Army team here, you've got your Paralympic team who have to have certain disabilities. What is wonderful about the Invictus side in any sport, there are effectively able-bodied people playing sitting volleyball, but they will have PTSD or something like that. Has that been quite an interesting concept for you, in the physicality is taken out of it, and again, it's about that mindset?
The mindset. That's interesting. I like that. So when we started, it was about the visible physical disabilities, and obviously over time, it became apparent that disability is not just physical. Okay, as you say, PTSD and all sorts of other mental illnesses, which is a big talking topic. Rightly so. From a sporting perspective, though, and this will be controversial, you tend to think, the coaches do the thinking, and some actors on a volleyball court do the thinking. But it doesn't restrict somebody's ability if it's only mental. Okay. So when the transition was happening, I saw it happen, and I was uncomfortable with it initially. I wanted it to be people physical disability, you're restrained. Because I've played sitting volleyball and I had an advantage. I could do things, for example, Corey couldn't do. I would do them quicker. I had the leverage, I had all four limbs, I could push off quicker. He couldn't. Okay, so if I had a mental illness and I was competing against him, he has no chance against me. So I found it made sitting volleyball a little bit unfair. Okay, if you have all mental illness players, 6 of them the other side, you will not beat them.
But do you not think that Invictus is the place for that to happen? There has to almost be a place for it. It can't be the Paralympics, I understand that, but there has to be a place.
And I do agree with you. I think Invictus is the best place, and they were right. I told you, this was initially when the change came in, I wasn't very sure of it. But with hindsight and with what I've seen happen, you realize it's not about winning. This is about family, it's about recovery. Okay, whatever it is you're recovering from, this is what it is, the opportunity, to meet fellow-minded people, fellow veterans. You play. We don't care too much about the medals. Actually, nobody talks about have an Invictus winner's medal. No, everyone says, I was at Invictus Games. So I quickly learned that. I think I'm open and say, I learned that. I objected initially. I wasn't, nah. It has to be physical, because the restrictions are uniform across. But no, it's not. I don't think it's about that. At the Paralympics, it's different. About the T4, T5 and all that, they complicate it too much. And so, Olympic medal, oh my God, so it's about the medals. But I think Invictus, this is adaptive sport recovery. No matter what it is that you're struggling with, you come in, you're in there, like-minded people, you play, you laugh, you cry, you talk about stories of old and you meet new people, and I like the way they chant through the different names, I used to think, those are one of the best sitting volleyballers. Why are we not having Corey in there? I was told, now there's a reason for it. And they didn't tell me why. I thought about it, I can see why. Corey can play, he's played twice. let him and let her try, So you're right. It's such a fantastic platform to, so inclusive. Just bring everybody in, give everybody a chance, and it's all over the world. And sometimes the Gucci locations attract more attention.
Well, look, you've steered your Army side to silverware winning success at the Crown Services. You've had a storming run in the national championships. Where would you like to take this Army side, and how long can you keep going for? Where would you like the sport to go within the military and in the Army?
First of all, before I take them anywhere, I want them to sustain. Okay, we need to sustain this. I don't want it to just flash in the pan. I want this to be sustainable. So I must make sure there is a pipeline that brings players in. Okay, right from the from the foundation, there's an intermediate, and then they come through. I want that to be an ongoing process. That's what I'm fighting now, unknowing to the bosses, but that's what I'm trying to build. For example, tomorrow, if I wasn't depleted, I'd planned a development side game on the other court as the main activities going on here. A lot of objection initially, but I said, no, there's a reason to it. I want that pipeline to stay alive and relevant. So I would like to see one more recognition for the sport, wonderful sport for eye-hand coordination. These are things, I think we talked about this before, these are things I treasure so much in my military career. They don't call them that, but if you strip back everything we use in green language, what they're asking you to do. Are you coordinated? Can you see and judge? Okay, can you aim at something and actually know, I got it, I've zeroed in, bang, that is it. Okay, when targets will fall when hit. So it's a good sport for that. And fitness-wise, it's fantastic. So my push is to make sure the pipeline is active. Okay, do we have enough in reserve to have those guys coming through? Okay, I've got a lot of rugby players, they get hurt, they're not here. A lot of stuff going in the world, they're deployed in Africa, in Europe, whatever else we have. And I don't want to tip up and say, like Navy, I don't have players, so I'm forfeiting my fixtures. I want to be able to say, okay, it might be the same quality as I've done, but I have enough players that are happy to play. So that's where I want it to be, and I want to sustain that and win and be competitive first of all, and then maybe if we can keep the momentum, I want us to keep winning. Keep being highly competitive at the Crowns and the Inters, win if we can, and then have our runs in the in the civilian league cups. One, it's good for recruitment. We're advertising the Army. We walk around with our.
Well, it is an Olympic sport. Can you one day see a soldier, male or female, competing on the Olympic stage in volleyball?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have, so the lad that was the MVP, most valuable player at the Crowns. He's not here. Probably the best player they've ever seen at the Crowns ever. And I told him, because he played in the cup games, and those teams was listening, does he live near here? Can he come play for us? So England have come asking about him. And I've told them, listen, when he's a citizen, he's yours. You can select him. Okay, that's the challenge we have. A lot of these guys, the younger ones, because I've phased out the older guys who could be naturalized citizens already. But these are younger guys. They've come in and so I believe when they naturalize and they're British at some point and they're eligible for selection, I believe we're going to one or two shoot through. And that particular guy, right now, if you ask me, he would fit into the national team. Okay. But whether the selectors see his game as, good enough for them, because it's different styles, remember. I don't want to go too technical with what we do, but my game with these guys, it's not about what I want, it's about me working with what they are. I make them work with what they are. If you gave me a whole group of British boys, I would coach differently. It's a different style, but our style is alien. They know what to do with us, so that's not about luck. When they shush us out, they'll probably stop us a bit more, and we may find other ways of winning. But yeah, I do believe one or two will strike through. Because remember, I mentioned volleyball in England. The highest level in England is not really a high level, if that makes sense. It's the highest level, but it's not a high level. Bringing one or two of the guys that I've seen, they'll do something different, they'll add value. And I think if it's fair, there would be one or two would make it to the national team.
Well, we look forward very much to seeing which team you mastermind to success in the coming months. Alex, thank you very much for talking.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.